Coming up on today's episode, WWE stars may be stranded in Saudi Arabia again. A retired WWE Hall of Famer has teased one more match, and the main talking points coming out of last night's episode of NXT and AEW Dynamite.
Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
Hello and welcome to the WrestleTalk Stacked News without the stacked reviews. I am Chopper Pete Quinnell. Yes, today, unfortunately, there won't be reviews of both NXT and AEW because it's Super Showdown today, and because of logistics with people working and the live reactions and the time taken to actually watch the shows to review, we don't have the manpower or the time to review NXT or AEW today in this news episode. However, Luke and Ollie will still be reviewing AEW Dynamite in the WrestleTalk podcast later today, as it's the go-home episode for AEW Revolution, but there won't be an NXT review on the WrestleTalk podcast this week. Damn you, Saudi Arabia. But I'll be making it up to you guys with two ways. One, I'm going to be doing a quick recap of the important things to take away from both NXT and AEW Dynamite anyway in the final third of this video, so stick around for that. And also, it's a thumbs up party. Hell yeah, you guys always want a thumbs up party. Dance Chopper, etc. WrestleTalkMerch.com, go get your own one. It's a thumbs up party, Dance Chopper, etc. I don't know how you guys like that. Yep. That. But that's the admin. Now for the news. It seems like none of WWE's Saudi Arabia shows can go off without a hitch, you know, as much as a Saudi Arabia show can go off without a hitch. Whether it's the controversy surrounding the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi or the wrestlers getting stranded in Saudi Arabia after the show, it can never be a smooth show for WWE. And that trend is seemingly set to continue. According to a report from Bloomberg, Saudi Arabia has enforced travel and closed borders to people traveling to the country from places with reported cases of the coronavirus. The United States happens to be one of those countries, with cases in North Carolina now in the books, which may really mess over WWE's travel plans. Now, luckily for them, the WWE wrestlers are already in Saudi Arabia for Super Showdown, so the show today shouldn't be affected. However, SmackDown the day after may not be quite so lucky. The last time this happened, WWE were forced to hold an NXT invasion after Crown Jewel on SmackDown, which was an awesome episode, but something tells me that may not fly this time. Exactly what impact these border closures are going to have remains to be seen, but it may really affect WWE's departure from the kingdom. It may be that leaving the country is no problem, but entering is regulated, or it could be that they may be entirely stranded for an extended period of time. We just don't know yet. This may not only have an effect on SmackDown on Friday, but if they are stranded for a while, this may also have a knock-on effect for Raw, and maybe even the SmackDown after, and if we're being really pessimistic, maybe even Elimination Chamber, which is next Sunday, March 8th. After the previous incident of stars being stranded in Saudi Arabia in 2019, several wrestlers took to Twitter to voice their displeasure of the situation, with Carl Anderson stating they couldn't pay him enough to go back, despite him being on the card today, and Not Your Buddy Murphy tweeting out never again, despite him being on the card today. I'm noticing a trend here. This could potentially be catastrophic for WWE, especially considering it's the build to WrestleMania, with several WrestleMania matches being decided at Elimination Chamber, or at the very least, storylines potentially beginning at the show, which now may have to be delayed or scrapped entirely. But then again, this may be no issue at all, and we may see the full roster turn up on SmackDown the next night. Luckily for WWE though, if the worst does happen and they are left in Saudi Arabia, John Cena is scheduled for SmackDown on Friday, so as long as he's not making a surprise appearance in Saudi Arabia, which he almost certainly isn't, he can at least run the show and do a solid 30-minute promo about pretty much nothing, and it'll be fine. Either that, or they could just have an entirely women's show. Evolution 2 could happen, by accident. But still, it's something, I guess. In fact, one of the women they might recruit for that show has teased coming back soon, and she happens to be a WWE Hall of Famer. Before we continue with the news, a quick thank you to Angry Arbel Zafiri for being an awesome pledgehammer on Patreon. A trend we've seen in recent times is retired wrestlers coming out of said retirement for one more match, reinforcing that the term retirement really means waiting for more money or waiting for better medical treatment. Goldberg is facing The Fiend later today for the Universal Championship, Edge returned at the Royal Rumble, and every time Undertaker returns, it's basically from retirement because it looks like he nearly dies every time he wrestles. Just please stop. If for your own health. But now there appears to be one more person to add to that list, as retired WWE Hall of Famer Trish Stratus has teased another match on Twitter, promoting 20 years of Stratusfaction on March 19th, 20 years after her WWF debut in 2000 on Sunday Night Heat. The promo video lingers on one particular shot before ending, and that's Trish Stratus facing off against none other than Sasha Banks. The shot itself is from the first Women's Royal Rumble in 2018, the only time the pair have appeared in a match together. Considering it's the only image of wrestling that appears in the entirety of this promotional video, you'd think there has to be some significance to it. Now, granted, March 19th is a Thursday, so it's unlikely this will be an announcement for Raw or SmackDown. However, we could see an announcement from Stratus on March 19th saying she's going to be on the next episode of SmackDown or something along those lines, which could then lead to her setting up a match with Sasha Banks at WrestleMania on the next SmackDown. Stratus only retired from competing last year at SummerSlam when she faced Charlotte Flair in a perfectly okay match. Perhaps she's got one match left in her and she wants it to be against Banks. The two clearly have a great deal of respect for one another, so it seems like the kind of thing they would both push for. It does seem slightly more fitting for Trish to retire at a WrestleMania rather than at a SummerSlam, but perhaps this isn't a final match. Perhaps this is Stratus returning to wrestling full or part-time, and this Banks match is just the first in a series of matches she wants to have. I'm sure there's several people Stratus would like to have a match with, however most of them are probably found in NXT. Could she make a trip down there and face Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, Io Shirai and Tegan Nox? I would very much like that. Or perhaps she would prefer to stick on the main roster, have some long overdue matches against Bayley, Becky Lynch, Asuka and Dana Brooke or something. Heading on over to AEW now though, and they have just unveiled their latest signing, and it's quite a major get from New Japan Pro Wrestling. Lance Archer is now all elite, and as a former New Japan United States champion and on the run of his life, AEW will be pleased with acquiring his services. Archer had several star-making performances in 2019, most of them during the G1 Climax and against Will Ospreay, and won the United States Championship that he then lost to John Moxley at Wrestle Kingdom 14. At 6'8", Archer is one of the largest men on the AEW roster, and will certainly bring a certain danger with him. Could he insert himself against Moxley immediately as revenge for what happened at Wrestle Kingdom 14? We'll have to wait and see, but Archer will be making his debut on next week's episode of AEW Dynamite, so we won't have long to wait to find out exactly what he's doing. He might be the Exalted One. What a swerve that would be. But now let's get on with a quick recap of the major talking points from AEW and NXT, starting with NXT. The big one from NXT this week was Charlotte Flair facing Bianca Belair, which is a pretty big deal, and Charlotte came away with the W, which is to be expected really. And being the proper babyface that she is, Charlotte tried to injure Bianca Belair by wrapping her leg in a chair and stomping on it, but Rhea Ripley came out for the save. Can she please just be a heel now and just not be the half and half thing she's done for like ages? Finn Balor came out on NXT to talk about what's next for him, but was attacked by Marcel Bartel and Fabian Eichner of Imperium, and they stated that Balor hadn't conquered the NXT UK champion, Walter. Balor versus Walter? Yes, bloody please. Is this taking place at TakeOver Tampa or NXT UK TakeOver Dublin? Can I wait that long for Dublin? I don't think I can. I think I need it at Tampa. Please give it to me at Tampa. There were teases on this show, seemingly for Killer Cross, as it featured apocalyptic imagery, but more importantly, clocks. And being that a Killer Cross catchphrase is TikTok, and he even uploaded a video to his YouTube channel and not TikTok for some reason, on February the 2nd with similar imagery and that catchphrase on it, one would think that's probably it. So it seems doubtful he would be responsible for the glitches on SmackDown as well, which was a popular theory, but I am thoroughly excited for Killer Cross on NXT. It was announced on the show that Velveteen Dream would take on Roderick Strong in a steel cage match next week, which means they're really getting their money's worth out of the cage, as it's also Dakota Kai versus Tegan Nox in a cage next week as well. Just chuck them all in, why not? Johnny Gargano attacked Ciampa again after Ciampa's victory over Austin Theory. Why, Johnny, why? I'm sure we'll get an explanation at some point. And that was NXT this week, a pretty solid show all things considered. And now heading over to AEW on the Go Home episode for Revolution this Saturday, and there was already a pay-per-view caliber match with Pac versus Kenny Omega in a 30-minute Iron Man match, which, according to the reports, was absolutely bonkers. Kenny Omega eventually picked up the win in sudden death after they were tied at 1-1 after 30 minutes. After that match, Tony Schiavone is asking Pac what's next for him, and then Orange Cassidy comes out of all people, and then it's official, Pac versus Orange Cassidy on Saturday at Revolution. I have no idea how that's gonna go, but I'm excited for it. Evil Uno said in a Dark Order promo that they're going to make Christopher Daniels obsolete. Ooh, the Matt Hardy teases. The weigh-in between Jericho and Moxley ended in chaos, with everyone getting into a big old brawl, skateboards being broken overhead, stitches being needed from a headbutt, all sorts of stuff. A chaotic show leading into Revolution on Saturday. So that's it for NXT and AEW this week. Sorry again we couldn't do a full review, but we'll be back to normal next week. Thumbs up party. Don't forget the thumbs up. That's what people like to do, is thumbs up. Yep. Thumbs up party, dance chopper, etc. No Rolls Barred is coming to Parts Unknown. Press the video to the right to watch Adam Blompier's announcement of the show. We've put a ton into it, so make sure to give it a watch and please subscribe. And has a Samoa Joe scandal been revealed? Press the video below that to find out more. And thanks to our pledge hammers on Patreon, who you can see scrolling below me. I've been Chopper Pete Quinnell. That was wrestling.